Welcome to Criminal Appeal, the true crime podcast with expert perspective. I'm your host, Dr. Casey Jordan. As a criminologist, I've investigated mass murderers and human traffickers, assassins and stalkers, serial and spree killers, wife beaters, and wives with knives. I've analyzed crimes and court cases for commentators like Anderson Cooper, Ashley Banfield, Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, Nancy Grace, and Piers Morgan. Now, I'm revealing my insider's perspective on criminal cases that I've worked, just for you. This episode may contain sensitive material, including interviews with individuals involved in crimes, depictions of violence, and explicit language. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Criminal Appeal, the true crime podcast that's different from other true crime podcasts because the cases we discuss are cases that I, your host, Dr. Casey Jordan, has firsthand knowledge of or worked in real time when they were happening. And tonight, we have an incredibly special treat for you because on January 20th, 2026, on Paramount Plus, a riveting 3-part docuseries is coming out about a very rare breed of spree killer went on a rampage and attacked 3 different women, killing 2 of them in a very brief period of about 9 to 10 hours in different locations in Florida. And we are going to unpack that incredible episode in our history of true crime. And to help me do that, well, first of all, I've got a very special guest who's going to come up in the second half of this episode. But right now, let me introduce you to my co-host, Dr. Colleen Butler Sweet. Hello, Colleen.
Hi, Casey. And as you know, and our Criminal Appeal listeners know, I'm a sociologist, not a criminologist. So that just means that I'm going to be looking at all the cases we cover from a social context, be that the way that family, schools, communities shape people's thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and behavior. Mm-hmm. And that'll be especially relevant to this case. I specialize in adoption studies, and that plays a role here.
Amazing. So to get started, you should know that sometimes we use a term, and you study deviance, right? For extremely handsome and smooth and charming men who are absolutely irresistible women. What do we call them?
Sometimes a lady killer, I think.
Yeah, and in this episode of Criminal Appeal, we'll be talking about a man named Wade Wilson, who turned out to be exactly that. But a few months ago, I took a deep dive on this story when I participated in a documentary about Wade Wilson, the one that just dropped on Paramount Plus in January of 2026. So, by way of disclaimer, this criminologist's knowledge of the case isn't so much firsthand, but rather from reading hundreds of pages of court documents and listening to dozens of hours of video so that I could contribute my analysis to that documentary, and you will see me in it. It turns out that a lot of what I said on camera for that Wade Wilson documentary about the case, it ended up on the cutting room floor, as does always happen. And because there was only so much that they could include of the dozens of interviews that they conducted, we are going to take this opportunity on this episode to revisit that case and watch some excerpts of Handsome Devil, Charming Killer, along with you, and I recommend that you see the whole thing as soon as possible. And I watch a lot of true crime docs, but I have to tell you, this one is really well produced. The music is epic. I mean, you're going to want to binge watch it. And we're going to do some play-by-play again with my co-host, Dr. Colleen Butler Sweet. Hello, Colleen again. And we're going to unpack how handsome devil Wade Wilson became such an evil killer. Colleen, thank you for joining me on this one. Okay, wait. There is so much more. This Wade Wilson story is well known, not only for just the horror of the murders he committed, and you're going to get sensitivity warnings throughout because some of these details are really awful, but also not just the women he killed, but the women who adore him. And kind of like Luigi Mangione and, the Menendez brothers, the Hybristophiliacs are huge on this case. There are probably hundreds of thousands, actually, of fangirls, some men. Think of them as groupies. They absolutely worship Wade Wilson, the spree killer. They think that they are in love with him. They are, as we discussed in a recent sidebar about women who love serial killers, they are clearly suffering from Hybristophilia, even to the point of delusion, Colleen. And so we're going to be looking a lot at these women known as Wade's wives. That's what they call themselves.
Yeah, but we just want to walk you through what happened first. And I will say also, I'm especially interested in this case. I didn't know too much about it really until I watched that documentary, Handsome Devil. And as I mentioned, what was really popping for me is Wade Wilson's experience with adoption seems to be really central to his childhood, his story, and maybe a little bit of the angst that he experiences. So I'm really interested to unpacking that dimension of this as well.
Okay, so before we jump into it, and I know everybody really wants to hear from Jumpsuit, so I'm going to whet your appetite for this true crime documentary by just showing you, how about a trailer clip to just get the ball rolling.
Something about this just isn't right.
And this is what I do with women.
Don't you think? I've been watching this clock all night.
I use my charm, use my good looks.
It hasn't changed.
Very tall, very handsome.
He was definitely an attractive man.
Maybe tomorrow will never come.
Very nice, very well-spoken.
Okay.
I fell very much in love with Wade.
Born with a beating heart.
I was gonna get married to him.
If time never moves,
I like tattoos.
no one say
To me, it was just attractive.
life's little right.
I almost thought I could fix him.
I guess you know what comes across my mind. Murder. Just murder. Just kill.
He's white, he's about 6'2", got tattoos, he's shirtless. So he killed some people.
Oh, there is blood all on the inside of the passenger seat.
And I choked her out so she couldn't breathe anymore. I was on a rampage at this point.
We needed to find Wade Wilson right away.
It's the fucking car, man. Spread your fuck you.
I stand here today to announce the indictment of Wade Stephen Wilson for the murders of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz.
This case exploded onto the social media scene.
Wade Wilson.
Even though he committed two brutal and awful murders.
I was like, this I don't give a fuck. I was like, who cares? I can't wait to get out. We're gonna have sex for hours.
Once in a while, a case comes along where you truly have an absolutely evil person, and this is one of those cases.
When I get that way, I become the devil.
What an intro.
Okay, I hope you now want to watch it.
There's so much to talk about, but Casey, let's start with his childhood. What can you tell me about his childhood?
Well, Wade Wilson was actually born with the name Anthony Testaseca, and he was born to teenage parents. They were only 13 and 14 when they became pregnant with him, maybe 15 when he was born. And because they were so young and unprepared for parenthood, and they knew it, they decided to give their newborn up for adoption. The birth mother actually went to church, and her mother approached the birth mother's Sunday school teacher. They had children of their own. They were just really wonderful, loving family. And that Sunday school teacher took Wade. I think originally it was just supposed to be a temporary thing, but eventually the birth mother decided to give up her rights completely. And so Candace and Steve Wilson adopted this newborn and named him Wade Wilson. And by all accounts, there's no dispute, this was a loving, upstanding, religious family in Tallahassee, Florida. Let's watch a quick clip about him.
I knew Wade's mom. She got pregnant. I was 15, she was 14. And then I got in some trouble, and I ended up doing 8 months in a juvenile program. And I got a legal document saying that she was putting him up for adoption. I couldn't do anything about it. All I could think about, just that innocent kid, And I just was, in my mind was like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? How did we get here? Because he wasn't raised like that. His adoptive family, they're solid people, good people, hardworking, honest Christian people.
You know, and Wade would grow up with 3 sisters and lack for absolutely nothing. He had all the material goods he wanted, creature comforts. I mean, a high school friend said he had the world given to him. He had a nice house in the suburbs, this person says. He had parents who loved him. They had dogs. They had expensive vehicles. It wasn't just all about material stuff, though. Their mindset was in the right place, too, and so they raised him well. But before I ask for your analysis, I do think there is some very important audio that we have from an interview with his adoptive mother, Candy Wilson. And she talks about him as a young boy and then as an early teen before he started severely rebelling in his teenage years. Let's hear what Candy says.
What kind of childhood did the defendant have? And were they a drug addict or were they from a broken home?
I'm Candy Wilson. I am Wade's adopted mother. We have 2 other children, and they was born Anthony Tessasica. And I said, well, we'll call him Wade. He was as cute as a dumpling. I mean, we just fell head over heels for him. I spoke to the man in white, didn't have to say a word. As they got older, Wade was such a delight. I mean, there was no anger in him. He was always smiling. He was always happy. People loved him. I mean, he was really a good child. Things would happen at school, and Wade always stood up for the underdog. He was just, even the teachers would say, Wade is so good. And it turned out, when he was about 15, 16, I told the biological mom that she could write him a letter. He started having an identity crisis. I could see it. That's when his hormones were changing, and he kept saying, well, why did they want me?
When you do that psychologically to a child, they're either going to rebel or they're going to understand. And Wade didn't understand. He rebelled.
He was, for the most part of our friendship after high school, in and out of jail. So he's very institutionalized.
He was accused of domestic violence, batteries by multiple women. He had burglaries and drugs in his record as well.
We love him so much, more than you can ever imagine. I hope and I pray every night, almost that this is a nightmare, that I'll wake up from this.
Colleen, what do you make of that?
Wow. Well, let's hear. I have a little bit more from Candy just to add a bit more detail. And then I do have a lot of thoughts from the adoption angle, certainly. So also, according to Candy, his adopted mother, she says, quote, Wade was a sweet, joyful child who would bring his mother dandelions that the family still loves so much. He did have a closed adoption, but according to his adoptive mom, Candy, the Wilsons did tell his birth mom, as we saw in that clip, when he was a teenager, she could write him a letter. According to Candy, the letter was kind. It explained that the birth mother loved him and thought it was best that the Wilsons raise him. And they read it to Wade in his teenage years, but this apparently only exacerbated his anger. So it didn't assuage it, it exacerbated his anger.
Yeah, and I know that in high school, around the age of 16, he stopped engaging in all his extracurricular activities. He had been in choir, he had played basketball, but then he began using drugs and he struggled with addiction very quickly. Now, during this period, he also started dating, and he would spend a time with a small group of friends. He had his clique, and he had a girlfriend. But his friends say that he was mostly known for his drug use and his infidelity to that girlfriend. I mean, basically, he was a playa. And by 16, he had what his mother called that identity crisis stemming from that adoption. We know that Wade struggled emotionally and had a lot of behavioral issues. He was arrested for drugs, car theft, burglary, again, larceny. I mean, everything, assault, firearms. His parents took him to doctors. They did not ignore this. They took him to therapists. They suspected he had a personality disorder. And then they finally took him to a child psychologist who diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. Okay. He got meds, but as he got older and over the age of 18, he refused to take them, and there was absolutely nothing the family could do if he would not take his meds. What do you think this could be really stemming from his adoption issues?
Or exacerbated by perhaps. So he did have a relationship, though, with his birth father,
Right.
Steve Testaseca. But over time, and it was a good relationship he had with his biological father, but over the time, it was the letter from the birth mother that he was read in his teenage years that really sent him into the tailspin. Now, mind you, there's no evidence he ever actually met his birth mother.
Right.
But in his conversations with his birth dad, Steve clearly detests her. He's very angry at her.
Yeah.
He continued to experience instability and rebellion, eventually sent to reform school and so on and so forth, sort of what we've been seeing already.
And we already heard from his girlfriend that, you can either accept it and he just didn't understand it. He kept asking, why didn't they want me? So what do you make of that?
Sure. Okay. So absolutely. Identity confusion can be a really common experience for adoptees. And I know we're going to see throughout that Wade was experiencing some identity confusion. Now, the way that we study adoption today, in the past, maybe 20, 30 years ago, we had a really romanticized idea of adoption, this sort of notion that it's, oh my goodness, either a couple that can't have a baby and a baby that needs parents and it's a beautiful journey, or in this case, you have this wonderful family that opens their doors to this child. And listen, there are so many aspects of adoption that are beautiful. But we do in adoption studies today take a bit more of a trauma-informed lens, because whether a child is experiencing multiple, let's say, foster homes before being adopted, or even if they're adopted at birth, we do know that there's a certain amount of trauma that those children experience. So really, specifically, things that are very common for adoptees: feelings of loss, rejection, shame, guilt, and identity confusion. As we see, even if they never met the birth parent, they still have this sense of, why didn't they want me? Emotional behavioral consequences, anxiety, depression, attachment disorders.
Yes.
They have a lot of difficulty with secure attachment, and even actually some control issues. Really where that's coming from is they feel that so much of their life was out of their control.
Right.
They did not choose their adoptive family. They did not choose to be given up for adoption, so they'll oftentimes have some control issues later in life. And now every adopted family's experiences and adoptees' experiences are different, but these are very common themes, which is why we really strongly recommend when a couple or a family adopts a child. This is very common within the literature, the phrase, love is not enough. Love matters, but it's not enough. You really have to be prepared to help them navigate these issues.
Yeah.
And one little thing I will say that did sort of flag for me in that clip that we saw just there, he was born Anthony Testaseca, but we'll just call him Wade.
Yeah.
There's a dimension there of erasing a little bit of his ancestry, which is part of your identity.
Yeah, exactly. So as a criminologist, we look at the why behind the crime, and a lot of it, I would say, is sociological, which is why I love having you here. But we do have to admit that there sometimes are biological and very psychological aspects to criminality as well that could be responsible for his antisocial behavior. Now, we know that his birth mother, whom he never met, but we know she was very young, just 13 when she became pregnant with him. And she was also drug impaired at the time when she was pregnant with him. Now, I don't know what kind of drugs she may have been abusing at the time, but, there's the fact that Wade, as a fetus in utero, could have ingested those drugs as well. I mean, we've even seen pregnant mothers arrested for fetal abuse because they're using drugs while they are pregnant. So there is plenty of evidence to show that ingesting drugs in utero against your will, because you're just a fetus, this can have long-range effects on behavior and a potential for criminality. So let's just agree that there is so much we don't know. 16, he just started struggling, right? And I don't think he finished high school. So what did he do after that?
So in adulthood, he works a series of jobs, fitness instructor. He did have a child with a woman named Rosemary, but all of his personal relationships were marked by accusations of abuse. This is a consistent theme. He was accused of physical abuse by his girlfriend, though, and this is also a common theme, no charges. But abuse is a common theme in his relationships. And it's with and while in his relationship with Mila Montanez.
Oh, we're going to see a lot of her.
We're going to see a lot of her, a woman he'd later assault and try to kidnap, but managed to get away. Wilson was arrested for domestic violence, but she again later declines to press charges.
Drop the charges. Well, we are going to meet Mila in a minute, but this kind of like catch and release with all of these women. He just went through women constantly. This would be a theme in Wade's adult life, and he would go to prison for all of these things that we just talked about, but never for very long, Colleen. He would be right back out on the streets, seducing women, exploiting women, beating women, and he was always using drugs and, committing a lot of domestic violence. Now, his mother, Candy, would later insist that it was the criminal justice system that failed Wade with these very short sentences, and she felt like he needed programs while he was incarcerated, drug addiction programs and some treatment for his mental illness, but she doesn't think he ever got that. So, although he had this very long rap sheet for a lot of crimes, he was never accused of murder until 2023 and that killing spree. So, as I said earlier, in October of 2023, spoiler alert, Wade Wilson kills 2 women. Their names, and they are important, Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. And in between killing those 2 women in a 9 or 10 hour period, he assaulted another woman who was Mila, his girlfriend, Mila Montanez. But she managed, he tore the clothes from her body. We'll talk about that assault because it was a lot of video of it. And she did manage to keep him from dragging her into the car because she was absolutely convinced that if he got her into that car, she would also be killed. So it is a miracle that she escaped with her life. And, technically, a spree killer, criminologist, CJ 101, is supposed to kill 3 people in their spree. Okay, he killed 2 and 1 got away. I'm still calling him a spree killer, okay?
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get to know Mila. She is so central to this case, and she was central star witness for the prosecution. So we have some clips from her.
Let's watch.
Mila Montanez, Wade's girlfriend at the time. I am used to kind of dating the bad boys. Very tall, very handsome, clean cut, except for his tattoos. I like tattoos, so I was, it wasn't scary. A lot of people would be like, oh, that sounds scary. To me, it was just attractive.
It wasn't more than maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I bumped into Mila. Hey, Mila, what are you doing? And then she introduced me to her boyfriend, Wade. My first impression was run. The hair on my neck stood up. I got a terrible feeling. And I made a comment like, you better take care of my girl. This is my best friend. You better take care of her. And he's like, oh, don't worry. I got your girl.
Wade always found a way to get drugs. Wade was like a drug sniffer dog or something. And so same with the Buddha. He walked around, found somebody with drugs that interested him, and he asked me to go with him. And to me, that sounded like a nightmare. So he keeps persisting that he wants to go. And then I start getting irritated. No, I'm not. When I really put my foot down, no. I saw that he was upset. Once he realized I was not going to go do drugs with him, he needed to find some people that would. Then all of a sudden, I saw him leaving for the door.
And I was like, Mila, was that your car? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, why aren't you in it? She's like, I don't know. Wade just left me here.
I don't even care anymore. I'm going to go to sleep, get my car back in the morning. I'm totally done with this relationship.
Wow. All right.
Okay. So what happens then, essentially? So to be clear, he's dating Mila.
Yes, they are boyfriend and girlfriend.
They are boyfriend and girlfriend, but he just decides, well, if she's not going to do drugs with me, I'll find somebody who will.
Yep.
So that's where he meets Christine Melton, just a woman that he encounters in a bar. And he goes home with Christine and her friend, but exactly as we see in that clip there. But he takes his girlfriend's car to do it, which, ouch. And we're going to talk about that car more in a minute.
No, but I've got to interrupt because we might need a little sensitivity warning.
I will. Yes, I was just about to, leading into what happens when he gets back to the apartment with Christine,
right,
who he had met earlier that night. So Christine's friend could tell she was kind of into Wade, and Wade was kind of into her. So once they got to Christine's house, the friend decided to leave them alone together, never suspecting anything would happen. And honestly, I feel like the scenario is so relatable.
Right.
Your friend meets a
We've all been
guy.
there.
Okay, I'm going to leave them alone. She never imagined anything would happen. What happens? Again, sensitivity warning. Wade rapes, asphyxiates Christine, and even after she had died by manual strangulation, he sexually assaulted her with objects that he found in her apartment.
He tried to wrap her in blankets and get her to the car, but he gave up on that plan because it was just too difficult. And he just ended up leaving her body in the hallway of her home.
Hallway of her home.
Yeah, I mean, adoption trauma can't explain that.
Yes, you can't explain that.
An interesting fact, he had stolen his girlfriend Mila's car, as we learned in that clip. And
not just any car.
Okay.
Can we briefly talk about the car?
Tell me.
Because this will matter to the gearheads who are listening out there. He stole Mila's 2015 Dodge Charger Hellcat, right? Okay, so like I said, for the gearheads, we know that Dodge re-released the Charger and the Challenger in 06 and 08 for the first time in decades. It was a huge deal. When we get to 2015, they release their supercharged model of the Charger and the Challenger. That's the Hellcat. This is a car with 800 horsepower under the hood.
It's a lot of car.
It's a lot of car. It's a lot of car. It's a mean car, and it's a really fast car.
Okay, but let me tell you something about Mila's Hellcat, and kudos to her for having a muscle car. Mila, I'm high-fiving you here from Connecticut.
Yep.
Here's the interesting thing: it is a car that Wade would absolutely want to be seen in, as if it was his car. But here's the rub. Here's the rub: he does not know how to drive a stick.
Mr. Tough Guy.
Mr.
Tough Guy over here.
He has
Can't drive a
never
stick.
driven manual transmission, so he has to find somebody else to drive this car. And I think it could have been Christine or her friend or one of the people who went to Christine's apartment to party with them. But he had to find somebody to drive the car, but I'm sure he's representing it as his own. And but here's the thing. They get to Christine's apartment, they party, everyone leaves except Wade. And as you said, he killed Christine. He tries to get her out of the apartment. He decides she's too heavy and he can't do it. And then as he gets to the door to try to escape the crime scene, he realizes he can't drive the car that he arrived in. He has the keys, but never mind. He ends up taking Christine's Hyundai Elantra to escape the crime scene. He also takes Christine's phone, and as he's departing her apartment, the scene of a murder, he uses Christine's phone to call Mila. Now, Mila doesn't recognize the number, but she answers it because she wants to hope it's Wade. She wants her car back. And, when he gets through to her, he says, hey, go to your spa. Mila had her own health and beauty spa. So if we refer to her as spa, that is her place of business. He said, I'll meet you at your workplace. I'll meet you at the spa. You better be there. And of course she's going to meet him there because she wants her car back.
Gosh. And we just need to, first of all, Wade Wilson's the worst. He's a horrible guy, so I have no problem dragging him a bit for this. And it's so interesting that you say, because I wasn't sure, is it a case that somebody had to drive it for him, or did he try to drive it and practically destroy the clutch and then realize he can't drive it back? You know what I mean?
I've heard rumors that is what happened, that he tried to drive it at first and then just abandoned it.
That's what I think he practically destroyed the clutch.
Yeah, he couldn't do it, so he went back and got the Hyundai.
So he finally gets back to the spa. Mila's in a violent rage because where's her car? Do you know what he returned in? In like a Hyundai. He left with her Charger.
Where's my car?
He left with her Charger, and he comes back with no offense to the Hyundais, but it's not a Charger Hellcat. But anyway, They start fighting, essentially.
I mean, he gets out of the car, ready to drag Mila into it.
He's dragging her into the car. She's fighting back. He beats her severely, smashes her face, breaks her nose, tears the clothes from her body as she fought for her life. Bystanders intervened. He's doing this in public, by the way.
Yeah, we have
He's doing
great
this in
video of
public.
it. I mean, someone had to bring her a T-shirt to wear because her clothes
He
had
had
been
ripped
ripped off her body.
Bystanders intervened, foiled the kidnapping, but Mila insists, and I agree with her. She says if he had got her into that car, she'd be dead. I think she would.
And later in court, she will describe his eyes as serial killer eyes. So let's hear what Mila told police about her relationship with Wade, because, of course, they brought her in for an interview after this. Oh, by the way, Wade escapes, all right? People intervened. They saved her. Wade jumps back into that Hyundai and leaves the parking lot outside the spa. They take Christine in for questioning, and for fair warning, we're going to watch a clip, and she is going to describe situations of domestic violence. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll even see photos of her earlier injuries and bruises. And so if this is going to disturb you or trigger you, maybe fast forward for about 3 to 4 minutes.
This is rough.
Yeah.
Right after it happened, I was interrogated. I didn't even know that he went home with a girl at that time. I just thought he stole my car with the guy he was going to go do drugs with.
All right, Melissa, how are you? Okay. I'm Alex Mino. All right, I'm a detective with Cape Coral Police.
Okay.
I'm going to have a lot of questions.
I'm used to it, okay. I have a busted mouth, so I'm talking funny. Yeah, he busted it this morning. It's okay.
I was so tired. I was still hurt. My nose was still bleeding. Every time I would cry, my nose started bleeding again.
Now, Wade.
Wade Stephen Wilson.
Wade Stephen Wilson.
5/20/94.
How do you know Wade? How long have you known him?
Boyfriend, 6 months.
Boyfriend, 6 months.
He's been in jail, incarcerated 3.5 of those.
Here in Lake County?
He beat me up and I put him in jail here. And then I didn't want to go through the court, so I dropped the charges.
He's been in and out of jail his whole life. He had a rape in Tallahassee that a jury found him not guilty, beating and everything, brutal kidnapping, all that. I almost thought I could fix him. One time, he grabbed me by the hair and started banging my head against the headboard. He drugged me into the shower, turned the shower on, and continued to beat me under the shower. And then he just sat on the toilet and kind of just watched me. Almost like a demon took over him and then left.
Has he ever shown any infatuation on killing people? Has he ever...
Oh, yeah. He talks about it all the time. I just thought he was bullshitting, like normal guys do.
Has he ever said how he wants to kill people or how he's killed people before? Shooting, stabbing, choking,
Oh, yeah, that throat, like stuff like that. He'll say, like, just... see, it's weird that I never even believed him. Like, he would just say random stuff like that. I never heard him talk about guns much, but knives, I've heard him talk about tying people up.
What does he say?
Like slashing people's throat or something like that.
He said he has done it before or he wants to do it?
He said in one incident, like, I guess he slashed over here, and threw him in a lake and let, like, no body, no crime is kind of what he said.
He said he cut someone from
here to here and put him in a lake or something. Apparently he was in a gay relationship in Marathon with this guy, and then he would try to kill him too, like stab him or something. I feel so horrible. If I wouldn't have picked him up from jail, none of this would have happened. I hope nobody's dead on my hands like this. This is horrible. Everybody told me, Mila, if you let him out of jail, he's gonna kill you or some other girl. This is horrible.
I kept asking, so we don't know if this girl's okay or not yet?
But I'm going to be straight up and honest with you. We do have a body. Okay?
Oh my God,
so
stop it.
This is a homicide.
Are you really serious? Is it that girl?
We don't know. We don't know. So, we do need to take the phone.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So, just stand by for a second.
Okay.
I'll be right.
The whole thing just kind of really hit me, that just surreal. to be able to absorb that somebody you were in love with was capable of doing anything like that?
If I wouldn't have went and got him, this would have never happened.
You can't blame that on you, okay? Because obviously you said he was on drugs. You cannot, I mean, you can't.
Everybody told me this would happen. If I let him out of jail, he'd kill somebody. I just didn't believe it.
She believes it now, right? Now, the last time she saw him with her busted nose, he was speeding out of her parking lot. But then people saw him in the car, the Hyundai, across the street in another strip mall parking lot. And they called the police and they go, there he is. He said, over there across the street. So the police, I mean, he's unhinged at this point, but the cop sees him lurking across the street and goes over there to confront him. And, you know, he's like this shark returning for his prey. I mean, the cop goes over and tries to question him, but you'll see this in the documentary. He's so slick, so uncooperative. He won't roll his window down. He won't get out of the car. The cop is telling him that he just needs to detain him, not arrest him. Please get out of the car, sir. And he won't do it. In fact, he ends up just speeding past the cop and taking him on a chase. Well, the cop, in this particular jurisdiction, their policy is do not chase fleeing felons because of liability purposes. Most PDs are like this these days. But one has to wonder if that officer had been able to go after him and stop him when he sped off from the crime scene at Mila's spa. You know, maybe the next murder would have been prevented, but, you know, nobody could have foreseen that within just an hour or two after attacking Mila, Wade Wilson would still be on his killing rampage. The police just a few hours later would get a 911 phone call from Cape Coral, Florida to report a missing person.
911, what is your emergency?
I would like to file a missing persons report.
Right around the same time, there was a missing person report.
She was walking to work, okay, and never made it to work. Her purse was found, and she is nowhere to be found.
Okay, and who is that to you?
That is my fiance.
Which ended up to be Diane Ruiz. Is it possible for these two to be connected? Did Wade Wilson do something to this woman, too? She hadn't returned home, and that was out of the ordinary.
Her phone is not in her purse that they found. And I've called it numerous times, and it goes straight to voicemail.
Okay, we're going to get an officer to you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Right, so where we left off, Wade had sped away from the police officer.
Right.
He drives around for a bit. Now, mind you, broad daylight. It is mid-morning.
It's like 10 o'clock in the morning.
It is mid-morning. And that is when he does encounter Diane Ruiz, a woman walking to the restaurant where she worked. She's just walking to work. Now, a big sensitivity warning here, folks. This one is really tough. He pulls up next to her, and using the ruse that he needed directions, he got Diane into the car where he raped and, in his words, choked her out, but then threw her from the car, still alive, into a vacant lot and ran over her with the car about 10 times until she turned into, quote, spaghetti.
Now, you know that spree killers, different than serial, different than mass murderers, they are like Tasmanian devils in this little tornado vortex, or a huge one in this case. They can be completely hyped on adrenaline. And in Wade Wilson's case, probably a bucket full of drugs. Who knows what he took? We know it was cocaine, maybe some bath salts. Who even knows what he took the night before? But in this tornado, they become completely fatalistic. Especially once, in Wade's case, once you cross the line with murder number one in a state like Florida, which has the death penalty and sometimes uses it, I mean, nothing else matters. Once you've done number one, it's like a WTF moment where they just have a lot of resignation. Oh, well, I might as well have as much fun as I can before the hammer drops. And not only does this describe Wade in the aftermath of killing Christine, And he left her house at 7:10 in the morning. He meets up with Mila at 9 a.m. at her spa. And he, at 9:45, 45 minutes later, he is killing Diane, who is a total stranger. But then he does something even more maniacal. He calls his bio dad, Steve, and he wants to brag about it. Not just tell him about it, but brag about it. I mean, ready? This clip is going to be a long one, but you are going to learn so much about Wade Wilson in the process.
And I said, no, I don't know where he's at. And she said, have you heard from him? I said, yeah.
He said that he received a call from Wade and he was acting almost boastful and proud.
And I'm hearing this man that I created, helped create, telling me the details of all these things with joy in his voice, you know? It made me want to throw up. And he's like, Dad, I need you to come get me. I'm in trouble. I said, listen, you got to tell me what's going on. And he started from the top. Just the details that he went into about Christine. They had sex, and she fell asleep on the bed, got on top of her, and choked her to death. I hadn't even heard about Diane's situation yet, but just the details that he went into about Christine, you know, rolling her up in the bedding and tying her up and dragging her down, trying to get her to the car, but he couldn't. She was too heavy, you know? Hearing him describe those things to me, I can't explain that feeling, you know, from your kid, you know, your son.
The truth is, I picked the girl up and I killed her. I choked her out until she couldn't breathe anymore, and she was still alive, and I pushed her out of the car. And she tried to get up, and I ran her over with the car. And I ran her over maybe like 10 times, 10, 20 times, her head, her body. I ran it over with the vehicle until she was not moving anymore. Everything was just a smear. Her whole body, and she couldn't get up. She was dead for sure.
I knew he enjoyed it. I knew he wanted me to feel, I don't even think intentionally he wanted me to feel his excitement. I just feel like he just was so amped up talking about it. I don't want to say joy, just adrenaline maybe. You know, he wanted me to feel that. It's a hard decision, I promise you. And it's the worst decision I've ever had to make.
Fix the fucking car, man. Spread your feet.
Fuck you, man. I've been good all night. Fuck you,
man.
dude.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't bother me because I know in my heart that I did the right thing. You know, I made the right choice.
I'm gonna put some new handcuffs on you. If you do anything stupid, I'm gonna slam you on your face.
Stupid? You
I
can
said
slam me in my face if you want to. I don't care. I'm not gonna do nothing.
All right.
But you don't have to threaten me. I can do shit to you. Wait, man, come on.
Let's talk about his dad for a second. So his dad does the right thing.
Yep.
What he does is cooperate with police and helps organize the arrest. So the way he does it is Wade's still in contact with him. He's talking to Wade, and he asks Wade, he's like, hey, give me your address so I can send you an Uber. Wherever he is that he's holed up, give me your address so I can send you an Uber. Wade does it. And of course, then Steve gives that address to police, and that's where they're able to apprehend him. Now, it's just something I want to pick up on here because I think it matters the context after the case and all of his supporters, Wade's supporters. He's like, I don't care what people say, I did the right thing. I'm like, of course you did the right thing. Yeah. Of course you did. But I'm wondering who's telling you that wasn't the right thing?
Let's be clear. Some parents would not have done that. They would have protected their child. I mean, what an impossible situation that was, and yet he did the right thing. So, but at the same time, in that conversation with his father, Wade had gone into all this graphic detail about how he had killed those women. And the father knew he was joyful, which made him incredibly dangerous. But here's the thing. They've arrested Wade. They got the address. You just saw him getting taken into custody, but they don't know where Diane is. They just know that he's confessed to his father about killing this woman, but they don't know where her body is. And, now if we are building the most basic profile of Wade Wilson, my gosh, manipulation, highlight it and circle it. And it's compounded by this complete lack of respect for the rights of anyone no guilt, no remorse about killing these women. And he gets pleasure from even, not just from hurting and killing them, but then calling his dad and bragging about it. I mean, this is inescapable. And I mean, I can't diagnose him without ever having met him. But I'm going to tell you that he checks just about every box on that checklist for psychopathy.
Mm-hmm. So now we're in the position, they've got Wade, but we don't know where Diane is.
Yeah.
Right? So he was the woman that he killed the night before. And listen, the police don't want to negotiate with him. They know it's a matter of time before they find her body. So once again, Steve, his dad, steps up and they ask Steve, can you get it out of him where Diane's body is? And they ask him, Steve once again intervenes, does the right thing. Wade tells him where Diane is.
Well, Wade tells him Wade is in police custody at this point, and his father is asking him, and he goes, well, I mean, I know where he is, and if the police will take me there, but I don't want to be here in the jail cell. I want them to put me in the car, and I want to, I want to drive around. And if they drive around with me, then I could show them where. So the police go back and talk to Wade in the interrogation room, and the master manipulator then says, if you bring me a burger and fries, then I'll show you where the body is. And you're right. They know that they're going to find her eventually because they know where she was last seen. But he's so arrogant and so smooth and so smug, even when he's talking to the police. I mean, we just heard it when they were taking him into custody. He's just like, you don't have to manhandle me. You don't have to threaten me. And, you know, I've got one more clip for you of evidence of my analysis. And let's take a listen. I do need to warn you that these conversations are very rough and raw with a lot of F-bombs.
You lost your mind, son. And I know you're getting it back, but you gotta fix it. And my biggest fear was with you, that you were gonna lose it and go on a rampage. And I just about did. I know.
He had tears in his eyes. And he said, well, what do I do? I said, you tell the truth, son. I said, you tell the truth.
Yeah, I've got a lot of detectives try to come and talk to me. I know. Yeah, I know that. But listen to me, son. We gotta fix it. Well, how you want me to fix it? We gotta fix it, son. You know, that 15-year-old boy that's missing his fucking mom right now. Yeah, who is about to fucking lose his shit because he's waiting on his fucking mom to walk back in that door. Yeah, we gotta fix it.
He asked me, you know, will you tell the detectives to come talk to me? And I'll tell them the truth.
So, I mean, it's been 3 days, but, well, I'll be able to, what we're talking about, I'll be able to show them, but it's going to take me a minute because I don't know the area. I just know, I know like where I went, you know what I mean? I'll be able to figure it out. I just have to have them bring me one place, and then I can find the place from that place. Is she far from the place? No. Well, listen, here's the thing, listen to me. They're gonna find her. I know. Okay, so for you, to just say, you know what, I'm a grown-ass man, and I fucked up, and I want to make this family whole. Yeah, don't hurt, son. Yeah, you can fix that.
Diane Ruiz's cell phone had pinged off of cell towers in this area. So we concentrated our search for a couple of days without any luck. And then we had 2 of our officers were eating lunch in the vacant field over here. And while they were eating lunch, they noticed that there was a buzzard flying around. And they watched that buzzard, drop down into the vacant field behind me. And they went and took a look. And sure enough, that's when they found Diane Ruiz in the bushes. Her pants had been partially removed from her body, and she was in stages of decomposition from being there for a couple of days. It was probably 2 hours into the scene now. Then I get a phone call from the Lee County Sheriff's Office telling me that, hey, Wade Wilson asked for you to come over here. He wants to talk to you.
He didn't know at that point that we had already found Diane Ruiz, so I just played along.
You ready to take a ride? Let's go take a ride.
You want to take a ride? So the very first thing that he had told me is that he wanted me to provide him with a hamburger and French fries, and he would in turn show me where Diane Ruiz was located.
Give me some French fries and a burger, and I'm going to take you right where you want to go. That's all I want, bro. I'm not going to have one for a long time.
I got to ask you a question about that. I'm not sounding like a total ass so I want to ask, but I'm going to do it anyway. You really think you deserve that?
No, I don't deserve it. I'll do the right thing. I'll show you right where it's at.
I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I didn't want to tell him that at first. I wanted to find out more, details, like I said, about what actually happened.
The truth is, I picked the girl up, and I killed her. I choked her out until she couldn't breathe anymore, and she was still alive, and I pushed her out of the car. And she tried to get up, and I ran her over with the car. And I ran her over maybe like 10 times, 20 times, her head, her body. I ran it over with the vehicle until she was not moving anymore. Everything was just a smear. Her whole body, and she couldn't get up. She was dead for sure.
Well, here's the good news. He never got the burger and fries.
Yeah, you know who else isn't going to have a burger for a real long time? Christine and Diane.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a burger for a real long time.
Ever.
I hate this guy. I hate this guy. Okay. And also I did misspeak earlier. It's Christine was the one that was killed the night before.
Right.
And of course
And
it
they
was
were looking for
Diane.
Diane
Yeah, they
that
were
morning.
looking for Diane.
Yeah.
I apologize on that.
Okay.
I'm angry.
I'm wait till you see all 3 episodes.
I'm angry. So, yeah, but I do want to say what a hero in this story the dad is.
Yeah.
I mean, every step along the way, he's doing the right thing. He's cooperating. He is using the trust that Wade has in him to help the police even more. Without him getting Wade's location, who knows? Who knows who else Wade would have killed? He, as you say, was on a rampage. He's on a spree. So thanks so much to the dad for identifying, and also thanks so much to the dad for finding out where the body was so this jerk doesn't get his burger and fries and a ride.
Well, I know we gave a sensitivity warning, but that is one of that's the whole idea of describing running over her was just horrific. And, listen, we know that he raped Christine and possibly even sexually assaulted her post-mortem. But everybody wants to know, because they talked about her pants were pulled down when they found Diane's body. Everybody wants to know, did he sexually assault her as well? I mean, this is just a woman walking along on the sidewalk, not some woman he took home from a bar.
Yeah, and I think he did, right? I think that in the car, maybe, I think is what had happened.
Here's the interesting thing, and we're ready for another clip, because in that same interview with the police, he does what we call a preemptive strike. And he's going to say, he says, did I rape her? No. I know you're curious about that, but I used my charm to get her in the car. And, we had sex, consensual sex. And this is
woman on the sidewalk, sidewalk, going to work.
Oh, by the way, he used a ruse. He was like, hey, do you know where the high school is? And it was right in front of them. So she's like, yes, it's right there. And he said, will you take me there? And she thought, all right, well, I'll save a few steps and he'll take me closer to the restaurant where I work if I just get in the car. And so once he got her in the car, yes, he sexually assaulted her. And he but this is what he said to the police. He goes, I know you want to know, did I rape her? And he said, yeah, I got her in the car and we had sex, consensual sex, because, quote, this is what I do with women, I use my charm and I use my good looks. That's how I got Christine into bed, and look what happened to her. Same story for this. And then he uses the final scapegoating excuse. I'm just so crazy when I'm on drugs. It's like a rage overcomes me, and I don't even think correctly. I am not thinking properly, I guess. And you know what comes across my mind? It's murder. Just murder. Murder. Just kill, kill, kill. When I get that way, I become the devil.
All right. Also, dude, you're not that irresistible. Like, yeah, sure. Is he traditionally handsome? Yes. Is he so irresistible somebody walking to work wouldn't be? Come on.
Okay, but tell me why this. I mean, we have spree killers, we have murderers. Why did this particular case gain so much national attention?
Yeah, it got so much. Well, first of all, it's so gruesome,
It is.
and there is his looks. He is a handsome guy. I can understand why that would attract some
And
attention.
then there
But
is
his name, obviously, his name. If
Yep.
you're a fan of the X-Men franchise,
Yep.
hello. Deadpool
Yep.
is the alter ego of Wade Wilson, who is a test subject. He was Special Forces soldier. This is in the X-Men series.
Ooh, I'm
Special
sure
Forces
this
soldier.
guy fancies himself. He is
bet
a
he
mercenary
does.
soldier. Go ahead.
Test subject program to cure his cancer, comes out from the experiment disfigured. He evolves into a mercenary with superhero powers. I'm sure this Wade Wilson fancies himself the same way.
Yeah, he thinks he's Deadpool. Well, okay. So some of that strikes a chord because at one time, he certainly was incredibly good looking. I mean, we do have to give him that. I mean, he was a handsome devil. This is how he seduced the women. It is true. But that was all before. And he was tatted up, especially on his chest and his neck. But during trial, the handsome devil decides to tattoo his face. But even then, as we switch gears now and focus on the trial, the prosecutors were actually able to introduce a ton of jailhouse phone calls in which Wade Wilson not only makes a lot of incriminating statements, but, and this is going to be the key for the second half, he maintains a lot of romantic relationships with multiple women and a few men, including his partner, Mila Montanez. Somehow she's still a little sucked in. Still thinks she can fix him. And also, this is the same girl that he attacked between his murders before he confessed. And the beauty of it is that under Florida's sunshine laws, we, podcasters and the general public, we have access to all of it. So before we dive in, I do want to point out that we have some video that's going to come up of maybe Wade beating Mila in the parking lot, and he was trying to drag her into the car. And this kind of struck a chord with me. This is a really good time before we launch into part 2, our second half of this one episode. What should you do if you are ever injured? And oh, by the way, when Wade was trying to drag her in the car, that Hyundai bashed into another car in the parking lot. I mean, of course. So what do you do if you are in a car accident or your car gets damaged or you get beat up or you get injured in a car accident? Well, guess what? You're going to need a lawyer on your side. Not this lawyer, by the way, because I only practice criminal law and real estate. You're going to need a specialist in accident law. And of course, that reminds me of Ventura Law, the accident law firm. A law firm that I refer everyone to when they ask me for legal advice. If it's out of my wheelhouse, I'm like, call Ventura Law. And without Ventura Law as our sponsor, we wouldn't even have this podcast. So let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come right back for the second part of Wade Wilson. At Ventura Law, they've spent more than 65 years standing up for people whose lives were thrown off track through no fault of their own. A serious accident or injury isn't just a legal issue, it's personal. It affects your health, your family, your livelihood, and your future. Ventura Law helps injured people navigate that aftermath and begin the journey back to their lives. This isn't a big box law firm where you're treated like a case number. When you call Ventura Law, you speak with real people who truly care. They listen, they stand with you, and they fight for you, so you can focus on healing and get your life back. They represent victims harmed by negligence, including serious accidents, dangerous or defective products, and sexual abuse cases, including abuse during rideshare trips, when accountability truly matters. Built on trust, teamwork, and compassion, Ventura Law has earned that trust for over 65 years while giving back to the communities they serve. If you or someone you love has been injured and doesn't know where to turn, Ventura Law is here to help you recover, rebuild, and move forward. Visit venturalaw.com or call them at 203-800-8000. Ventura Law, because how you're treated matters. And now we're bringing you a special bonus conversation outside of the studio that takes this discussion one step further. Hey there, welcome back to the very last half of our discussion on the spree killer Wade Wilson. Now we are ready to launch kind of a bonus discussion about Wade Wilson's trial, his conviction, and even more compelling, the phenomenon of the Wade's wives. What better way to do that than to feature the clips from this phenomenal three-part series that just broke, well, as we're taping this. It was January 20th, 2026 on Paramount Plus. Please, if you've got Paramount Plus, borrow somebody's password maybe and be sure to watch it because it's already out and we are really excited to talk about it. Colleen?
So Casey, I know you did a really deep dive into researching Wade Wilson for your role in the documentary, but you were really especially interested in the women that were so obsessed with him. So I'm really eager to get into that conversation.
And that's what we're going to talk about because, as you know, in season 1, we did a sidebar on Hybristophilia, the people, mostly women, like 90% women, who really fall for the bad boys. And, the producers know about my interest in studying Hybristophilia. So the producers of Handsome Devil, Charming Killer, that just broke on Paramount Plus, reached out to me and they wanted my take for this documentary. So let's watch a quick clip. And they had other experts as well. In fact, some of them were even better than me. But let's watch a quick clip of what the experts think about these Wade's wives so that we can launch our conversation about that.
Another day in Wade's world. I'm posting clips. They're getting 5 million, 9 million, 21 million views. Extraordinary.
I kept hearing this female energy tell me a name. And it was Wade Wilson.
There's this dreamy man who's just misunderstood, and he didn't do any of this stuff. He's innocent. This is all being, he's being framed somehow. Y'all need to hear his words and what he has to say.
I mean, I hope those lawyers never have a job again. They were not making objections. They were not asking the proper questions. Things were not done in a timely manner.
They're ready to blame anybody and everybody. And so that they tried to demonize anybody except the man who really needs to be demonized, Wade Wilson. I've done 10 years myself. I know how inmates think. I know how convicts operate. I know how prison hustles are. He's convinced women to smuggle drugs in for him.
If you could state your name for the record, please. Bonnie Wiggins.
She trafficked narcotics by sneaking them into the Lee County jail. She did that numerous times.
Hey, I'm calling, babe. Love you.
All right, I love you too. I'm gonna take care of it. I got you. I'm gonna take care of it, for real.
I would have told him no. I would have told him to go screw himself, to be perfectly honest.
Bonnie Wiggins ruined her life for Wade Wilson. He will take anyone down with him that he can convince to go down with him. I had a woman reach out to me on Instagram and say that her son-in-law, his name was Brandon, and that he had been in jail right beside Wade Wilson. He looked up to Wade, thought Wade was so cool. In fact, so cool that he copied him and got the same tattoo of the stitches, the big stitches smile, the infamous smile stitches on his face.
We used to just work out in cells next to each other. Honestly, if you meet Wade, the shit that I've heard does not add up with his personality.
That's who he looked up to and wanted to be like. Brandon has just been arrested for a murder of his own. I guess he got his wish.
So for those of you who are listening and not watching us on YouTube, the young man that was just described there, Brandon, actually tattooed his face to mimic the tattoos that Wade Wilson has on his own face. We're going to talk about those more in a bit, but we just want to point out it's not just women who were obsessed with Wade Wilson. In some cases, it was men too, and in this instance, a young man as well.
Yeah, which is very disturbing. But Colleen, actually, we're going to talk more about the tattoos in a minute. So put a pin in that and hold that thought. Strangely enough, instead of keeping his face clean, and he was handsome at the time, we'll talk more about that. He appeared to get enough affirmation from his fan club. And be clear, his face was clean, handsome, dimpled, when he actually committed the crimes that he was eventually convicted of. But then when he went to trial after having been in jail, in holding for quite a while, he actually committed these crimes in 2019. And then his trial would go along very slowly through the next few years of the pandemic. So court was shut down for a very long time. In that time period, between the time that he was taken into custody and the time that he actually had his trial, he had his face enormously tattooed. We're going to kind of get into that in a minute. And this defies all logic, Colleen. You're going to go in front of a jury who is going to look at you and size you up and judge you, but that didn't seem to matter to Wade. And there's a number of reasons why he may have, well, I consider it disfigured his face, but the fangirls loved his tattoos. And he was getting enough affirmation from his fan base that he actually not only had them following him, but buying him the clothes that he wears in trial, his designer suits, his alligator shoes. He goes in looking like a GQ model, if you will. And, those designer clothes were kind of clashing with his tatted up face, but it's like he lost touch with reality because it didn't occur to him, or he just didn't care what the jury would think and how they would judge him based on these facial tattoos. All he cared about is that he had some of his Wade's wives sitting in the gallery, watching the trial, smiling at him when he turned around. So let's see another clip of those women who are consumed with passion for Wade Wilson. And then you and I are going to break down what it all means.
Let's start with the Wade Wilson update and give you guys some inside juice of what's going on.
There was just so much interest on regular media, social media.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
That we became ground zero for a couple of days.
My best friend and my sister are obsessed, and it has drugged me in.
She wants to see the trial. I would want to see the trial too.
There was a population out there, not just here locally, but around the country and the world.
Wade Wilson, l'influenceur.
Wade Wilson
Wade Wilson è stato condannato a morte per l'omicidio di...
They were even putting all his walks into the courtroom set to music and in slow motion, like fangirling over him.
It's all the thirst traps and the way he looks in a suit and the fact that he's a murderer, and some women just find that attractive. He wanted a new suit every time. He wanted a Gucci suit and he wanted a Gucci shirt or crocodile shoes. What am I gonna do with dang crocodile shoes for you? I couldn't find what he had wanted, and I had spent about like $150 on shoes and socks and underwear and shirts for him to wear and ties, and it just wasn't good enough for him.
Let's talk about Wade Wilson's tattoos.
Tattoos that can get you in serious trouble.
Let us have a full rundown of some of his tattoos.
While locked up, this is when Wade began getting his face tattooed. It started with the swastika on his face and head, and evolved into what looks like half a skull on his face.
His face is an entire billboard of his life.
So Wade has a tattoo that says TTG.
That stands for trained to go, which is also another way of saying ready for war.
Okay, those are some tattoos. So he has the swastika that's over his eyebrow, but probably most notably, he also has the stitched smile of Heath Ledger's depiction of the Joker. And this is probably the tattoo that Wade Wilson is most known for. And, we were talking a second ago how about maybe that's not a great look for going into court. I have a theory, though, on why he did it for the facial tattoos. As you already mentioned, a very traditionally handsome man. Right. Yep. And you're right. A little bit of a pretty boy almost with those dimples. He almost had like a beautiful face. I wonder if the intent of those facial tattoos that he got in prison was to appear menacing and crazy, and as a result, tough to the other prisoners, almost in a protective way to not be targeted because of how sort of traditionally handsome he was. But then, maybe an unintended latent consequence is the women just loved it when he'd show up on camera in the courtroom.
Yeah, and that seemed to override all of the, kind of like, what are you thinking feedback that he would have gotten. In fact, one of the things that we see in the documentary, his own attorney, who is a very competent, well-practiced attorney. He's been practicing law for a very long time as a public defender. And he walks in and he sees the swastika on Wade's face. And the first thing he says to him is, "I'm Jewish. Are you going to have a problem with that?" I mean, I don't even know how this lawyer could defend him sitting next to a man with, this most horrific icon of Nazism or white supremacy on his face. But the lawyer did what he needed to do. Remember, he got those facial tattoos after the crime and before his trial. And even in the documentary, you're going to see jurors talking about the fact that it was incredibly disturbing, incredibly off-putting, that they were trying really hard to look beyond the face and just go with the evidence. But like, why would you stack the odds against you by getting all of these tattoos? And Colleen, I really have to think that this is just because his fan base was literally fanning the flames of his ego, and he just didn't care.
Yeah. And it's also my understanding that swastika tattoo is really a symbol of a particular prison gang that he's not even a member of. So again, it's fronting, right? It's performative. Yep. There's a performative dimension of those tattoos.
Completely. And, I just think he just kind of like goes to La La Land and doesn't care what anybody else says. But by the way, getting a gang tattoo for a prison gang that you're not in is a great way to endanger your life while in prison. So I don't know. He just seems to be like really making major mistakes in all aspects of his life. But let's dig into a lot more of the psychology of Wade's wife. One of the stars of this particular documentary, and we'll talk so much about her, is his former girlfriend, Mila, but she was his girlfriend at the time. This was the one you might recall from the first half of our discussion. She was the one who went to the Buddha bar with him in her Hellcat, and he abandons her there, takes her car, essentially steals it, and goes home with another woman. You would think Mila might be on the path to waking up after that, but we're trying to figure out what is the appeal. It's not sex appeal. Hey, maybe it is criminal appeal. What is the appeal of Wade Wilson to these women? And, does he just seduce them for his own ego because he just loves to be adored? Or, I don't know, is he more manipulative in terms of just getting them to put money in his commissary so he can have all the junk food that he likes? He wants that brownie with his hot meal. A lot of them actually seem so brainwashed. They stand by his innocence. And they insist that he has been wrongfully convicted and that it was all a setup, that he got framed. And maybe he just likes maybe he's the puppet master and he enjoys having the puppets that stand by him and get online, the keyboard warriors who are like, we love Wade and I'm going to marry him and I'm going to have his baby. But, some of them, I don't know. When you dig into their logic about why they love Wade, there is no substantive reasoning for it. In fact, what you're going to find out is that most of them never watched the trial, never actually took the time to go into the evidence. They just love his dimples and get sucked into the vortex of Wade's world. Hey, let's watch another clip that really focuses on these women.
I honestly did not think I was going to be able to do it. Is this all that we are? I begged and pleaded that I didn't want to. You're saying I have to sit in front of him. Is this all that we've got? And you're saying I have to testify against him in court. I couldn't do it. It wasn't until they told me how important that it was that I was the only voice for Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. Because I was the only one that he beat up and survived. That I could say how scary he was.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes.
I don't know if it'll ever really set in. It's just surreal to be able to absorb that somebody you were in love with killed 2 women.
How did he act?
Violent, aggressive. I knew I was going to die that day. I was just buying time. I'm trying to reason with him, trying to talk to him, but there's nobody behind those eyes anymore.
Okay, so at some point, does he
Does he continue to beat you as you're up there? Does he punch you?
Yes.
Okay, describe that punch.
The final and end punch that I remember, he got me so straight on and blood just went crazy everywhere. And it almost was like a minute where I could dunk under and run under his arm, run down the stairs. And then that's when my neighboring businesses, the design studio, were calling me, Mila, get in here. And then, like, I didn't even realize how crazy I looked, but, like, they rescued me, and I don't know what happened after that.
You said when you met up with him, you said there was nobody behind those eyes anymore?
Yes, that's true.
What did you mean?
Dark serial killer eyes, where there's nothing to reason with. It's a black hole. You're saying words, you're trying to evoke emotion in somebody, and there's nothing behind those eyes.
Oh gosh, Mila, of course she's terrified to testify. That really pulled on my heartstring when she talked about that. And you know what, Casey, we've already talked in this podcast before about battered spousal syndrome and how constraining it can be and how limiting it can be in terms of what you think you can actually do. And the amount of bravery it took for her to get on that stand and be the voice for Christine and Diane. I mean, I really do, for all she's been through, that took a lot for her.
It did. And I want to say, in all fairness, we have no idea of how many other women or even men out there that Wade has abused, beaten, raped. We know he was tried for a rape and not convicted. And we know that he had other women file charges on him for domestic violence, but they dropped the charges. Even Mila reported him to the police for a beatdown, and she eventually got back together with him and dropped the charges. I mean, this is textbook battered spouse syndrome. So for her to actually start the very long, hard process of not just getting away from him physically, but actually doing the work to understand that she was abused, and then going the next step to testify on the stand about his serial killer eyes as he was beating her and trying to drag her into the car. I mean, it's just, we just, 1, 2, 3, we love Mila. I mean, she's really such an important part of this documentary. Now, I've got to tell you that we have another clip about Mila's testimony, because not only did she kind of wake up from the whole process of distancing herself from Wade, but that's, that healing process coming out of battered spouse syndrome and going to the police and telling them exactly what he did to you, that's one thing. But then there's a huge leap of bravery to actually get on the stand and tell that story to a jury and have to look at the man who killed 2 women in a 10-hour period and tried to kill you in between. I mean, it just takes more. Let's just watch the clip, because I'm just incredibly proud that she was able to do that. But man, she brings her A game.
And then I started getting all these death threats that I had testified against him. I couldn't show up to work for several months after the trial. I thought I did my job on trial. I thought that was all I had to speak. I didn't know I had to further defend myself after all this. And I didn't know that there was, hundreds of thousands of girls that I had to defend myself from a serial killer. That was crazy.
We call them the Wade wives. I think they called themselves Wade wives. People who were trying to have relationships with him.
He did ask for pictures, and then when he got them, he was obviously very sweet, very charming, and complimentary about the pictures, and then he was asking for more.
This defendant, who's covered with facial tattoos and for some reason fascinates people.
Meet Wade Wilson, who apparently has been taking over corners of TikTok.
Wade Wilson.
Wade Wilson? He's charismatic and he has tattoos.
He knew what was going on the outside. He knew what was being posted on TikTok. He literally knows everything.
And then it certainly didn't help that his name is Wade Wilson from Deadpool.
We can fight this. I'm sure you've been seeing him all over your For You page. Wade Wilson, the Deadpool killer.
He really thinks that he's a Marvel character.
It kind of reminds you of Charles Manson a little bit, doesn't it? He was building a cult following. There were women and there were folks out there that were actually following his commands and getting tattoos done.
I did. I have it right here. It was one of those tattoo your name on me so I know it's real. Sorry, but it was. Literally the words from his mouth. And I've never done that before. I don't have any other name on my body, including my children. So it was something that I was very serious about.
Is this all that we are?
I mean, again, I think he's a master manipulator, so he knows how to get what he wants.
Hey, Kristen.
What?
Can you put money on my canteen for me sometime?
So inmates are entitled to having what's called a canteen or a money account to purchase items, purchase food, what have you.
Listen, I have like $80 right now to my name.
Can you put $10 in there? I was gonna tell you thank you too for putting money on for me. Briefly, like I
You're
really.
welcome. I just put more on. Don't worry, I'll be able to send you some money soon.
He had girls all around the world writing him, sending him money. He had more canteen than he can even use. That even guys were fangirling over him.
I haven't had pizza in months.
Okay, what do you want?
I only need $12. That's it. It's only $12
Can I
for
send
pizza.
it?
Yeah.
How about I say 24 right now, okay?
Okay. Hey, if you could put $10 on there for Daddy so he can eat on Friday. God damn.
I put that money on your account, so I put 12 so you can get the hot food with the brownie.
Okay, you knew I wanted that brownie, huh?
Hey.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
In the 4 or 5 years that Wade Wilson was in jail, we saw Wade Wilson go through a series of women who were absolutely enthralled with him. I'm Dr. Casey Jordan. I'm a criminologist, attorney, and behavior analyst. There's a sense of safety and control in loving a bad boy. Look, here's a violent person. I'm controlling him, and he can't hurt me. It's not just his good looks, though. It's the notoriety of his horrific crimes.
So clearly she was the star witness, right?
Yeah.
And the star witness as his intended victim, which just must be chilling to be in her position. You know, we talked earlier about how she was terrified. You know what? She was right to be scared, but not only, as we see in this clip, not only just of him, she's right to be scared of the legions of almost cult-like followers that he has. And those Wade's wives, those followers aren't behind bars. They can track her down at her house. They can track her down at her work. They can nonstop harass her online. So she wasn't just dealing with fear of him, but this very real fear of all of his supporters who were coming for her.
Yeah, I don't even know how she got the courage to do this. Because first of all, going to the police and making a statement is one thing, right? And that started the process of her, if you will, having a metamorphosis, right? And realizing that she was under his spell. And now she's in the process of waking up. But then there are legions of people, mostly women, who are like, go then. You can turn against him. Now I have him. I'm going to have sex with him. I'm going to have his baby. He's going to marry me. And I mean, I can't, that is so, it's just counterproductive to her growth and her process of breaking the grip that Wade had on her. And yet she does it. She does it. And she goes on the stand and she testifies against him. And what does she get for doing the strong thing, the brave thing, the necessary thing to get this murderer convicted? She receives a torrent of hatred, death threats. I mean, even I think her spa got burned, but they decided it might not have been the Wade's wives. But I mean, just to stack trauma on top of trauma. I mean, Mila has always been incredibly strong. It's not that she became strong. She was always strong. She just was, you know, in the Wade vortex for a little bit. And then she woke up and smelled the coffee, and she extricated herself from his control. And the reason I'm spending this much time talking about it is because she gives me faith that maybe some of the other Wade's wives, the fan club, the people who support him, they can see something in his eyes. He didn't really do it. I don't mean to make fun of them, but please. Listen, she got on the stand and did that to honor all of his victims, and she is one, but to make sure that he was convicted and could never hurt anybody else.
Yeah, but nothing adds insult to injury like a legion of his fans putting $100,000 into his commissary so he can eat well while he's in prison.
Yeah, and don't forget, in Florida, with all their if there's no way she can escape it. It's going to be on social media because Florida has those sunshine laws. So all of the phone calls that Wade is having with his girls, and by the way, they all think they're the one special one, but he's doing it to all of them at once. They just, and then causing little cat fights, because they all think he's mine, he's mine. Let's do a little CJ 101 about hybristophilia. It's super important. And by the way, there's some really excellent books about this out there. But this phenomenon of hybristophilia, if we wanted to just put it in lay terms, is people, 95% women, who fall for a person, 95% men, who has done a crime, but not just any crime, a really violent, horrific crime, typically not just murder, but they're particularly attracted to serial killers, mass murderers. And Wade Wilson is a very rare kind of spree killer, but they are all over Wade. So why do women fall for these bad boys? There's no one size fits all response. There's probably 5 to 10 theories, but I'm going to cover the most popular ones about the explanations why these women are attracted to these bad boys. Bad boys is too soft a word, okay? They're horrific murderers and they don't deserve your love and attention. Okay, so there is one theory that argues that these women are fundamentally really immature. Not just that they lack a lot of life experience, but intellectually they're immature, and they are really driven more by their hormonal response to things, their neuropsychological response to things, than their logic. Okay. Even for teenagers, we have a different brand of them being in love. We call it limerence, because when you're a teenager, you fall in love, and it's a whole different brand of being in love than when you are a mature adult in your 20s or 30s and actually, have better judge of character, perhaps. So they have like this limerence response, like a teenage girl, a 14-year-old girl getting all excited when they see or talk to Wade Wilson. This actually triggers in their brain the release of neurotransmitters called norepinephrine, and this literally increases sexual arousal when they're talking to him. They're getting sexually turned on. So in other words, the deviance of the relationship actually releases their hormones and gets them sexually aroused. So when they get this positive response, like a thrill on par with falling in love as a teenager or even skydiving, there's actually a neurobiological explanation for it. But Mila, okay, the feeling that she had for him, which partly explains the general desire for bad boys, a lot of them are like Mila, and they think that he is just misunderstood. They have what we call the savior complex or the fixer complex. If you watched the beginning of our podcast, you know that Mila kind of rolls her eyes and gives it up to God and said, oh, well, I thought I could fix him. So the fixer is a real thing with hybristophilias. They believe that he is bad. He is a murderer. They're not in denial about that, but they think that they can make him good, or that they're the only ones who understand him, and that they are the only ones who can see that power for redemption in their eyes. And he had an unfortunate childhood. He just lacks sufficient self-control. It's all the drugs. They make excuses for him. Thoughts so far, Colleen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing would be, my understanding of limerence, so much of it is just based on fantasy. It's an imagined romance in your head completely, which makes sense for the Wade's wives. It doesn't land as much for me with Mila, only because she did have a real life, in-person, physical relationship with him. But for sure, limerence would absolutely, I would think, be what's going on for these women online who've never met the guy.
And they're literally having hormonal flush when they talk to him, and you
Oh,
can see it and hear it when they, with these wonderful, thank you, Sunshine Laws, with these recordings that we have, they're all like, I'm going to marry you. I can't wait to wrap my legs around you. We are going to have sex until we get pregnant. And they are absolutely in the moment believing delusionally that all of these things are going to happen. All right. So also explanation, fame. Let's just say some of these women are in it for the fame. They think, you know, the novelty, a lot of them, I don't know how to say this nicely. They don't have a very interesting life. Okay. They have a life that's kind of dead end job, or, you know, nothing, no future goals. So the novelty of being able to talk to a killer like Wade Wilson gives them all kinds of a feeling of self-importance. And, you know, especially if they can claim him as their own, they feel like they are touching the code of Jesus, and they're going to post this all online, and they're going to become famous overnight because he's famous. So they, by virtue of having this relationship with Wade, will be a Wade's wife, and that's what they call themselves. It's kind of sad. All right. By the way, another theory, and this is the one that is a little touchy. A lot of these women are not in touch with the fact, or they're just tamping it down. So many of these women who fall for these really horrific bad boys, especially rapists and murderers like Wade, were very abused, horrifically abused, some of them sexually abused in their childhood. And you're going, that is crazy. Why would a woman who was abused be attracted to another abuser? And it's because of a little trick that goes on in their head where, because he is in prison, they feel safe in corresponding with him, because even though they may say, I can't wait for you to get out and marry me, they know he's never getting out. And this is a way for them to try to normalize themselves. And very often it's because the abuse that happened to them, they're completely in denial about and don't want to talk about. But by flirting with and having a relationship with a man who is likened to their abuser, they feel like they have regained control of their life, because now they're in control and he's not, because they can put money in the commissary. They can call him or they cannot call him. They can hang up on him anytime. They can exit anytime they want. So that, sadly, you know, we call these the safe relationship seekers, but sadly, they very often have histories of abuse themselves. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we talked about that a little bit on the sidebar we did on Hybristophilia. And I remember then I had mentioned how it reminded me of sort of the psychology behind rape fantasy, and how very rarely when women, typically women have a rape fantasy, they're not fantasizing about a fat lip or a black eye. The whole point is, within that fantasy, exactly, they control the parameters, they control how far it goes, they control what happens. And it really does remind me, especially with the limerence dimension of Hybristophilia, it's all a fantasy. You know, it's all a fantasy. It's all happening in their minds. You know what I mean? There's no physical contact, and no physical threat as a result that's actually happening there. So that, it makes sense to me.
And for women who are incapable of having real loving relationships with men because of distrust from abuse they have suffered, this is like almost the only way they can have a romantic relationship, because it doesn't involve sex, which is something they may not be able to do without it releasing all the trauma. So finally, I mean, there's more theories, but, you know, bottom line is there are some of these fangirls, fanboys simply suffer from mental instability or emotional instability. And some of them just plain old mental illness. They have emotional issues or even personality disorders, and they might really, their maladies, if you will, their emotional or psychological maladies will make them extremely vulnerable to Wade's control. And that just puts it straight back into his responsibility basket, because they don't know what they're getting into. And he, by the way, spoiler alert, he is simply a power control killer. He's not even that interesting. He checks all the boxes for psychopathy, but he loves to manipulate, control, and violate the people around him. And he does it for pleasure, and he gets pleasure out of it. So unfortunately, some of the women caught in the net may just be very vulnerable people who are just mentally unwell. And he smells that, and he zones in on it, and he exploits it. So, some of these women with their mental disturbance feel extremely special for the very first time in their lives.
Yeah. You know what, though, even with all this, which is sobering, it does give me some hope that Mila was able to break away, and she was confronting battered spouse syndrome. But it wasn't just her. One of Wade's wives, one of the participants in the documentary that impressed both of us most was Alexis, who was like sort of the I don't know, the leader of his fan group,
Yeah.
And even she eventually, because she really was in that limerent sort of place, the Hybristophilia place, the fever broke for her too, eventually.
Yeah, it did.
So that's encouraging.
It is. I mean, Alexis was the one, I think in the prior clip, she was the one buying him the clothes and the underwear and the crocodile shoes. And she was in court every single day to support him, so that when he turned and looked over his shoulder, she was there and, smiling at her. And she was absolutely under his spell. But, I am so proud of Alexis, because she eventually would wake up and smell the coffee. And you got to see this. This is some of the most important part of this documentary. I mean, let's see what happened to her after not only hearing Mila's testimony in court, and maybe that gave her hope. Maybe she's like, wow, if Mila was in love with him to the point where, he beats her and she drops the charges, he repeatedly, and he abandons her at a bar and goes home with another woman, and she's still ready to forgive him. He steals her car, and she still takes his phone call the next day, hoping she'll get her car back. If Mila can do it, maybe Alexis can do it as well. So let's have another clip, because Alexis sat through the victim impact statements during this trial, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. And it was an epiphany for her.
I kind of wish I never involved myself with him in the first place. I made the decision to keep coming back so I can hear the truth and see what was going to happen.
If you'll just face the clerk and raise your right hand, she'll swear you in.
I'm Zane Romero. I'm Diane Ruiz's youngest child.
The moment that I realized that I was actually done was during Zane's testimony, is when I broke down, I think, the hardest.
I was only 14 years old when she passed. Just starting my freshman year of high school, she was so excited to see me grow up, and so proud of what I was growing into. Everything told me that she was coming home. I almost killed myself because I couldn't bear the idea without turning 15 without my mom.
I felt for him so bad, and I hated Wade for it, because if I could sit here and be bawling my eyes out for this child, how much they love their mother and was waiting for their mom to come home, and you're just sitting there and not showing anything.
That's me and my mom at the Moose Lodge on Mother's Day. I don't like pictures taken of myself, and that was the only picture I let her take as a Mother's Day gift.
It was horrible. It was horrible. That poor kid. There's no way you can sit in that courtroom and think any different. There's no way you can.
Oh, gosh. Speaking of bravery, Diane Ruiz's 14-year-old son to get up on the stand the way he did and to share, from this deep place in his heart that is in so much pain, what it meant for him to lose his mom. He was so vulnerable up there. He was so vulnerable. And it really does sort of highlight for us just how important those victim statements are. And you know what? It's the one thing, Alexis mentions it, not just for sentencing, they're important for sentencing, but Alexis mentions that's what broke the fever for her, that she is watching this boy right on the cusp, of becoming a teenager and a man and what he's going through. And she's like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. So,
Yeah. And I do want to give a shout out to Alexis for her growth and her willingness to just forgive herself for the mistake she had made and to say, all right, now I see things clearly. It's sometimes, to save face, it's really hard for people to admit that they have been bamboozled. But I mean, I really want to give her a shout out because she was brave enough to admit she made a huge mistake in trusting Wade. And the moment was listening to the victim impact statements, especially Diane's son. I don't know. You have just got to have no freaking conscience or soul if you can watch that without tearing up. And it takes a lot to admit that you were basically brainwashed and under the spell of a murderer, which is what Wade was. And she sat through the whole trial to support him. But at the end, she couldn't do it anymore. Once you realize you are being controlled by literally a handsome devil and a charming killer, there's only one way to get it right. And Alexis does that. You have to admit that you were sucked in. You are going to have to cut him out of your life, cut the control completely, and go through this weird withdrawal period and healing where you doubt everything, but then you slowly but surely start moving forward. And Alexis does exactly that. And we are so proud of her. So, okay, you're right. Those victim impact statements, I'm so glad you brought up the one by Diane's, he was 15 at the time, 15-year-old son. His mother was taken from him when he was only 14 years old. And they're absolutely heart-wrenching. And the biggest thing about victim impact statements, and I've had them in my own trials with murderers and rapists and child molesters, but they aren't just somebody getting up there and reading a script. You are forcing the victim to relive that crime in real time. You are forcing them to re-traumatize themselves in the interest of justice and get on the stand and walk people through it, even if it means, and on camera sometimes, even if it means completely breaking down, getting choked up and feeling weak. All of this, you're willing to put yourself through one more time for the sake of convincing the jury that justice needs to be served and that your suffering should be considered as they hand down the sentence. So, I mean, I have to tell you that I wasn't expecting this at the end of the third episode. When the victim impact statements were read, they really affected me, and they brought me absolutely to tears. And I am a rhino-skinned criminologist who really never gets unnerved. But whether or not you believe in the death penalty, what these relatives say on the stand and then afterwards when they're making statements to the press was very compelling, and it had a huge effect on me. And it had a huge effect on Alexis Williams. That's the great news. She was seeing it in real time in the courtroom. And this became the turning point for her, if you will, her waking up and smelling the coffee, her rehabilitation, and her courage to break away from the hold that Wayne had on her. Let's give it a listen.
As a family, we have all been really quiet. Wade supporters have not been quiet, but we all know that the loudest ones are always the dumb ones anyways.
My name is Felix Ruiz, the father of Diane. I didn't get to say I love her, and I miss her.
I had never believed in the death penalty before this. The whole thing's tragic, so it's hard to say good. It just may be a sense of relief for the family. I don't know if I could just. I felt good for Christine and Diane's family that they were able to get that.
Oh, you did the right thing, Mila, and it matters.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not trying to over-personalize this, but I have had occasion to actually be in the witness box and give a victim impact statement of my own when I have been the victim of a crime. And I've taken that experience and I've become a victim advocate for victims of violent crime. And I've coached them sometimes when they need to write victim impact statements. I can tell you almost all of them don't want to do it, do not want to do it. It's awful. I mean, why would you want to put yourself through reliving all of that pain in front of strangers? But you do it. And Mila was really terrified to make that statement. And I know that Diane's son was, and, Christine's cousin and best friend, they got up there and they did it. And I don't know if that was the nail in the coffin, but, I really want, for Wade Wilson, I really want to give a shout out to all of his victims' family members who got on the stand that day. I personally know how hard it is. And I want to acknowledge that, that it was incredibly hard. You all did the right thing. And I very much appreciate how the documentary honors them and makes sure that in the final minutes of this documentary, you're very clear that this documentary is not meant to romanticize or glorify Wade Wilson at all. The focus is clearly on the victims. So the women who were attacked, including Mila, raped and murdered, including Christine and Diane, and all the women out there that Wade Wilson may have hurt that we don't even know about, they're out there and they're suffering, and they probably don't want to admit that they also fell into his web. But to you and to your families, all the men and women who love you, especially Christine and Diane, and who miss you and grieve every day, I want to thank you for having the courage to do that. Now, it's not just a nice ending to the documentary. It is something that, and victims have to make their own decisions if they want to do it, but it's something that's incredibly hard. I know how hard it is, and I just want to thank you for having the courage to do it in the interest of justice, not revenge, but just justice.
And you know what? Clearly, all of those statements mattered because the jury did sentence, with a 9-3 vote, sentence him to death.
Yeah. And the scary thing about that is that so he gets the death penalty, but of course the Wade's wives, the ones who are really diehards, they just turn this into, he's a martyr now. Now we need to love and support him even more. We need to stick with him through his entire appeals process. And this is so disrespectful to the victims' families. Mila woke up, Alexis woke up. I think a lot of them have actually woken up because now that we're monitoring the activities of his fan base on social media, it's very clear that the so-called Wade wives, they've had a change in leadership and everything. They're waning. They're dissipating. They're scattering. And half the reason this could be, Colleen, is because he is not the handsome devil anymore that he was during the trial.
Do we want to take a minute and show this last clip where we can see what life has been like for Wade Wilson on death row?
Yeah, because, even despite the best efforts of his attorneys, who were really good attorneys, they even described him as like a psychotic time bomb. Wade is on death row. And if Florida does use it, by the way, it's rare. There's going to be years and years and years of appeals. But, let's see the final clip. This is where the victims' families will take the stand and explain why they think that Wade actually does deserve the death penalty. Let's take a listen.
This is Wade. For too long, I have remained silent, hoping that the justice system would uncover the truth on its own. I ask you to continue fighting for my exoneration.
Mr. Wilson is currently sitting on death row in the Department of Corrections.
His request was he wanted to get to death row as soon as possible to get shipped out.
Being on death row, isolated, I think a part of him really knows that he has to have that. Because with everything he's put all over himself and with the things he's done, and some of his life choices, he knows he can't freely walk a prison yard.
You see photos of him, his teeth are falling out, he's losing his health. He's gaining rapid amount of weight from his unhealthy diet, from all of the money he's raised and is spending on candy and honey buns and chips. He believes there is poison chemicals being pumped into his vents by God knows who to take him out.
They're probably going to make another attempt on my life, like in the jail. Like it's already happened before. They were pushing chemicals out of my van.
Oh my gosh, he's lost it.
What we hear and what we see and read in these disciplinary reports, it seems like that is what is happening to him. He's losing his mind. It's been reported that he's assaulted his cellmates in more ways than one. He can still get drugs, and he does get drugs. So he's actively using things like K2, meth, bath salts, anything he can get his hands on. It's like, what is going on in there with this guy?
He tried to mail this autographed handmade drawing to someone he called Sweet Cheeks. Wilson wanted Sweet Cheeks to post the drawing on a 24-hour auction site and sell them to the highest bidder. Wilson wrote, "Due to my fame, this should sell quick and rake in the money."
Thank you for believing in me and for your unwavering commitment to the truth. My voice was drowned out by the overwhelming pressure to find a scapegoat. Your support gives me so much hope to endure, knowing that one day the truth will set me free. I love you all.
He's a shell of his former self. A lot of people saw these photos, and I think that really turned the knob down to zero for a lot of people. There's no more support for Wade there. There's no more money for Wade there. It's done for him.
You know, that's something I'll have to live with the rest of my life, thinking about, my child possibly getting executed. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you know that you've done everything in your power for that child and they still choose to make certain choices, it hurts. You can, you wish you could fix it, but you have to do what's right, and you have to think about other people and their suffering. And it's hard when it's at the hands of a life you created. It's hard.
I did burn all of his letters and the rest of his clothes that I had after that. I'm just trying to live my life, and the internet's not allowing it. Calling me, fat, ugly liar, and that Wade's with me now. I have an ice cream shop.
Well, I gotta tell you, when watching this documentary, Colleen, I shed real tears, and that's just not like me, but that's how deeply I feel about their bravery. And if this documentary helps some of the Wade Wilson followers to break free and stop saving face and admit that they got sucked in. It's not even that you were wrong. It's that you were the victim of a Svengali, of a master manipulator who sucked you in and made you, think he was going to love you and marry you and have a baby with you, and then got you to put money on the commissary. Wake up and smell the coffee. And it's okay. We're not going to make fun of you. We're actually going to praise you if you decide to make that decision. It will, if that happens to even one of his followers out there seeing this documentary, then it will all be worth it. And even the pain that Alexis and Mila went through in their journey of healing, it will be worth it if more people start that journey too.
Agreed. And, so for those of you who are listening, not watching the clip that we just shared there, he really looks different now. he is not that handsome guy anymore. He has gained an enormous amount of weight to the point of near obesity. His teeth are completely rotted out. His front teeth, no more charming smile. And actually what we're going to do, for those of you who are listening, we're going to put the side-by-side images of Wade on trial and Wade now on our Instagram, just so you can see the difference. And I'm, Casey, I have to ask you this. I know I know that hybristophilia is multi-layered and complex, as you did such a good job of explaining in here. But the guy being handsome does seem to matter. And as with the Menendez brothers, with Richard Ramirez, with all, others where we've seen hybristophilia. And I have to wonder how much of his waning support has something to do with the fact that he's not hot anymore at all.
Yeah. His waning support corresponds to his waning good looks.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's
He's
like
gross. He's gross now.
He's
like gross looking. He was always gross, but now he is gross looking.
He is not fun to look at. He's just not. I literally get the heebie-jeebies when I see the pictures of his empty front teeth and his big puffy face, because it makes the tattoos look even scary. It's just gross. It's just, yeah. So, okay. You do not have to be good looking to get women to adore you. You just have to commit a horrible, violent crime. But don't kid yourself. The better looking you are, the Richard Ramirez cheekbones, the Ted Bundy, all-American Ken doll looks, the Menendez brothers, with their tennis sweaters. And hey, preview of coming attractions, we will be covering Luigi in this particular season. And he has his fan base too, and they've described his ankles in shackles as being pornographic. Okay, being good looking, we can all list the ones that have a fan base because they are super good looking, and by standards of traditional beauty, they're sexy. But the bad boy persona, that's what they are chemically attracted to. But the good looks, that is just fuel for the fire. Man, that is just gravy, gravy, gravy. And you will separate the wheat from the chaff when they become ugly. All right. When they gain weight and start looking really awful with the bad teeth. I mean, no woman wants to go to prison and straddle that and have his baby after a while. So the good looks with Wade Wilson was the bait that brought them in.
That makes sense.
Okay. It was just the bait. And it's something within, he doesn't even get to control how good he looked back in the day. He certainly, he doesn't choose to control it now because he's just eating all the junk food from the tens of thousands of dollars that his supporters have put in his commissary. So here's the good news. He loves those brownies and he likes pizza. You will find all this out by watching the documentary. He wants a hot meal. He needs some more money in the commissary. It's going to be pizza night. Oh, baby, I'll give you extra $2 because I know how much you love that brownie. Oh, wake up and smell the coffee. Listen, here's the good news. As his looks have completely faded, the Wade's wives, they're dissipating. They're scattering. As we just heard from one of the Wade's wives experts in the clip, he is the shell of his former self. So be very clear. He's not reformed. He's not redeemed. He is not on the path to turning his life around and just waiting out his final days, being a good boy. But he is still actively trying to seduce his fans, manipulate them, schmooze them with his charming words, even if his looks are fading. And he wants to keep them on the hook. And this can't be just for commissary money at this point. I mean, that's nice, but he has the money. He's got the money in commissary, and it has made him blow up like a tick and rotted all of his teeth out of his face. That's both the drugs and the sugar is my guess. But the more fans scatter and leave the Wade's wives, Colleen, well, losing that fan base is probably more effective punishment, poignant justice, real justice. It probably hurts him more to lose his fans than the fear of execution, because without his fans, I mean, he's just like a deflated balloon. He has nothing to live for without this fan base because he is complete megalomaniac, ego-driven narcissist. Well, let's not diagnose him. He's not afraid of prison. He knows when he kills them. He's like, well, I'm going to prison. Can I have a burger and fries one before I go? Yeah, and let's be honest, Colleen, he probably will never be executed.
Yeah.
It's just the way death penalty works these days. Although, I got to tell you, Florida is one of the few states that would actually carry through on this. But he's not going to see the light of day again. And even if he's not executed, without these women to reinforce and adore him, the truth is that he has nothing to live for. And that is the worst thing for him. I mean, I think even the victims' families would agree that if he's never executed, as long as he's suffering in there because he doesn't have anybody to adore him, good.
Yeah. And I have to wonder, what role did social media play in all of this, in sort of the building up of Wade Wilson, the sex symbol, the fact that you could be on any corner of the planet essentially and be following his trial and adoring of his photos and everything else. All of this sort of exploded on social media. But here's the thing, social media will turn on you too. And it seems like that's what's happening, is TikTok has turned on him. You know what I mean? Lesser extent on Instagram. YouTube has turned on him. And with that current, you just see so many of those adoring supporters fade away. It's fickle, man. Social media is fickle. Don't pin your identity on that.
Yeah. And that is why they call it 15 minutes of fame. I mean, even if it's more than 15 minutes, the point is it's fleeting. It's fleeting. And he had his big wave during his trial. And I mean, he is a shell of the man he once was. Now, to be clear, Colleen and I both believe in the dignity of human life. But speaking for myself, I really find it hard to find any sympathy or compassion for somebody who wallows in his crimes, never seeks forgiveness or admits what he's done is wrong. So that's why I don't have a problem with him suffering with the lack of adoration from his fans. I mean, if that's the worst thing that ever happens to him, it's probably not enough. Here's the thing, Mila, this is why I love Mila. She played him. God knows he played her. And towards the end, right before she cuts off communication with him completely, and this she did on her own without any help from the police. She didn't do it at the behest of the police. She called Wade and wanted to get from the horse's mouth. All of Dr. Jordan's students know Casey wants the information from the horse's mouth. Mila was like a junior profiler, Casey Jordan. She gets him on the phone and asks him the questions I would love to ask Wade Wilson. Mila does it for all of us who are really curious. She pointedly asked him, he's in prison, she's doing this phone call with him, and he's like, baby, come see me, come see me. What, you're saying you won't see me again? Really? I mean, come on, you don't have to come see me, you just got to call me every now and then. And he is still trying to charm the pants off of her. And she is like, yeah, Wade, not going to happen. And she's like, Wade, I just want to know why. And he goes, you're right, baby, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. She's like, nope. Why, Wade? And he says, well, baby, I'm so sorry. It was the drugs. She's like, nope, not letting you off the hook. Lots of people do drugs. They do bath salts. They don't all go out and kill 2 women and attack their girlfriend in a 12-hour period.
In broad daylight.
Yeah. In broad daylight. And she won't let him off the hook. He is just like doing his little Svengali cobra, manipulation of like, baby, I'm sorry. Come see me. I'm sorry. Okay. And she's like, why? Why, Wade? I am not going to get off this phone until you tell me why you did this. Don't say it's the drugs. And finally he goes, yeah, because I wanted to. Okay. And the criminologist in me knows, and we covered this so much in the first half of this really important podcast, that his environmental factors definitely had an impact on him. We talked in great detail with your help, Colleen, about, his adoption and how that really could have fractured his identity, especially when he hit puberty. We talked about all that, his upbringing, his diagnosis, his adoptive mother says with bipolar and other mental illness, his drug abuse. Let's agree, environmental factors, maybe his adoption, maybe his mental illness, all the drugs, they definitely would have contributed to his criminality. But in the last analysis, he speaks truth and he says, I did it because I wanted to. And that takes me right back to my favorite theory in criminology. An overriding theme is just choice. He just fits choice theory in the end. He could have changed at any time and he chooses not to. So Wade Wilson, you are where you belong. The phenomenal documentary, Handsome Devil, Charming Killer. It really just lays to bear all of your evil actions. We have learned not to hate the criminal, but hate their crime. I always believe in redemption, Wade. If you hear about this and you want to change, we believe, just like so many of the Wade's wives, your followers, who have woken up and seen the truth, that you can do that at any time, and we would welcome that. But in the meantime, just know it's a choice. You chose to kill those women, and you can choose to be better anytime you want to. So thanks to all of our own fans for watching. And we want you to be sure to check out Handsome Devil, Charming Killer on Paramount Plus. It already dropped, so you have no excuse. Get on to Paramount and watch all 3 episodes. You're going to want to binge watch it. The editing is phenomenal. The experts are phenomenal. Not just me. I mean, I'm in there, but they have dozens of really great interviews, so you can get your information from the source, from the horse's mouth, and make up your own mind how you think about Wade Wilson and the Wade's wives. Be sure to check out all of our episodes this new season on Criminal Appeal. And remember, Wade Wilson, hey, crime doesn't know what time it is, and justice doesn't care. True crime reminds us of something important. Real people's lives can change in an instant. An accident, an act of negligence, a decision that never should have happened. For more than 65 years, Ventura Law has represented people whose lives were altered by negligence and who needed someone in their corner when everything felt uncertain. After a serious injury, everything can feel overwhelming. You're trying to heal, protect your family, and figure out what comes next, all at the same time. Ventura Law helps the injured take back control, restore peace, and move forward. This isn't a big box law firm. When you call Ventura Law, you speak with real people who listen, guide you, and fight for you so that you can focus on healing. They represent victims of serious accidents, dangerous or defective products, and sexual abuse, including abuse during rideshare trips, cases where accountability and justice truly matter. Built on trust, teamwork, and compassion, Ventura Law has earned the confidence of the communities they serve for over 65 years, while giving back through charities, scholarships, and local programs. If you or someone you love has been injured and doesn't know where to turn, Ventura Law is here to help you recover and rebuild. Visit venturalaw.com or call 203-800-8000. Ventura Law, because how you're treated matters. Thanks for listening. This has been a Parish House production. Special thanks to the fabulous team at Uptime Productions.